Hi, and welcome to week 3 of COMM1085. Before we start, make sure that you have gone into Econestoga under the third week content. Make sure you download and open the week 3 PowerPoint. Download it and open it. Then also download and open this week's learning log if you would like to fill it out along with the lesson. Then once that's all done, then you can continue the video. So you can pause now if you need to and go open everything and then come back. So this is week 3. Our agenda today, the first thing we'll be doing is our intro to academic integrity. We're going to discuss what policies that all students need to understand before they can submit their written assignments. This is to protect you from plagiarism. That's a pretty serious offense, and it's something that you should all be informed about before you write any of your papers. The second thing on the agenda is the citing and documenting text references, the how-to. So we're going to discuss what's expected inside the body of our writing when we're borrowing ideas or words from other authors. Then we're also going to talk about what's expected at the end of your written assignments after you've borrowed ideas or words. Next, we'll be moving on to our critical reading. The title is Dear Dad. It is by Taslim Jaffer, and we'll be doing a guided reading. Next, we'll be discussing the parts of speech in English grammar. We'll be doing some online modules for that. Then once we're through everything else, we'll be prepared to do our labs activity number 1, which will be under our quizzes. So I would just like to acknowledge our source material. All the material that you'll see today is mostly from Writing for Success, which is our open source textbook that is available under week 1 and 2 in Econestoga if you would like to take a look at it. Any other material, the source will be published along with the slide. So please note that this method of acknowledging sources doesn't model the documentation required by the APA style guide, which is what we'll be learning about today. When you're writing your own academic documents for assessment, you should always consult documentation resources and the instructions provided by your instructor. So first, we are going to talk about academic integrity. Now we will watch a video. You can find this on YouTube. If you click the link on your PowerPoint, you can access the source for that. However, we will be watching this together in this screen. Okay, so that is just an overview of academic integrity. Next, we'll talk about the importance of acknowledging the work of others. Okay, so now I want you to turn to learning log number 1. You can watch the video first and then fill out learning log number 1 if you would like. So now we're going to watch Avoiding Plagiarism, first video in this series called Plagiarism and Academic Integrity. That information in your writing is very important. If you don't do it properly, plagiarizing. For example, To three parts and look at each. Dial guides. Great. So now we are going to move on to the answers to learning log question number 1. So follow along. You can look at this slide first and then make sure that your answers match. So number 1, all writers have a responsibility to be honest and clear with their readers when they have included words, ideas, and/or images from another source. Therefore, plagiarism can be accidental or deliberate. So the answer to A is false. B is also false because it is necessary to identify the source of all borrowed information, even if it's unpublished. And C is also false because you are required to indicate to the reader whenever you have included someone else's ideas, even if you have captured this idea in your own words, which is called paraphrasing. So take a moment to make sure that you answered learning log question number 1 correctly. A, B, and C are false. Okay, so now we're going to move on to learning log question number 2. So we are going to read these together and answer along as you go. You can pause anytime. So A, the scenario is David is working on an assignment that confuses him. He borrows Shivani's assignment to see how she completed the assignment. He decides to copy her work and submit it as his own because he believes it's not an offense if you submit work that was done by another student. It's an academic offense only if you copy published material and submit it as your own work. So take a moment to fill out question A, see what you think about that. Now, B, Mark copied a paragraph of a magazine article into his report without identifying the writer because the author wrote exactly what Mark wanted to say. When Mark turns it in, he says to his friends, "It's okay. It's only an academic offense if you copy the whole work." Take a moment and answer letter B. Next, C. Marguerite has been assigned a topic that is very similar to a report that she wrote for a different class last term. She decides to turn in the original report because she wrote the report herself. Marguerite says to a friend, "How can it be an academic offense if I am submitting my own work?" Now take a moment to think about that and answer C. And D. When Shivani asks David if she could look at his assignment, he agrees because he thinks she will simply read the assignment to see an example. Instead, Shivani copies part of David's assignment and turns it in as her own. Now you can pause and finish answering learning log question number 2. Now that you're back, you can check your answers for question number 2. A. Conestoga College's academic integrity website states that submitting work of another student is considered a type of plagiarism. So even though it's not published work, David committed an academic offense when he turned in Shivani's work as his own. B. Conestoga College's academic integrity website states that submitting or presenting work of another person or organization in whole or substantial part as one's own without proper citation and referencing is considered plagiarism. So Mark has committed an academic offense even when copying one paragraph and submitting it as his own. So just because something says exactly what you want to say doesn't mean you don't have to cite it. C. Conestoga College's academic integrity website states that submitting work from a previous course is a type of plagiarism called self-copying. If you are interested in pursuing a topic that you have already written about in another class, you should seek the advice of your professor. So even though it's your own work, you cannot just submit the same thing twice. So it's your intellectual property, but you have to create something new. So if you have any questions about that, always talk to your instructor first. D. Conestoga College's academic integrity website states that helping someone in an act of academic dishonesty is a type of academic offense. So David, since he let Shivani look at his assignment and since she copied it from him, may have committed an academic offense. So take a moment now to pause and make sure that your answers match these ones here for learning log question number 2. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the technicalities of citing and documenting text references. So what are the expectations of academic writing? Well, our understanding of audience and purpose can really help us be successful when we're writing for an academic audience and purpose. In this context, you must be aware of specific expectations and conventions related to the way you use and present ideas and information that you have acquired from other sources. This week, we will begin to explore these conventions and expectations, citing and documenting text references, using an academic style guide, and a lot more. So now we are moving on to learning log number 3. In COMM1085 this semester, we will be using APA at Conestoga Style Guide to format your writing and assignments and to document your sources. If you have never opened this link before, now is a good time to do so. I will quickly open it and we'll take a look at it. So this is an easy to navigate page. It will give you all the information you need to properly cite your work. So always start with getting started. It will give you an overview of what is APA at Conestoga. It will talk about paper formats, writing details, quoting and paraphrasing, what the difference is between those, and how to integrate formatting research. Then we're going to talk about citations in text, reference lists, visual appendices, resources and templates, and then a checklist, which is a really, really great resource that you can check off at the end of every assignment. This style guide will inform almost every aspect of your document, including the cover page, the font style and size, the spacing, the page numbering, how to cite your sources, and a lot more. So documenting sources is done in two parts or two stages. The first is in-text citations, and the second part is a references page. So as you can see in this example, the in-text citation comes after you have used other information that is not your own inside a paragraph or a sentence. So here we see there is a quotation starting right at the quotation mark and ending at the other quotation mark, and then the reference, read et al. 2012, page 2. And then it's repeated again for a paraphrased quotation. Then, when you're done writing your paper, you need a references page, and this is what it's going to look like. So, how do we cite text references? In-text citations for quotations and paraphrases must have three elements. It must have the author's last name, it has to have the year of publication, and it must also include the page number or the paragraph number. This applies when we use a writer's exact words, which is called quoting. For example, although Canadians can celebrate that smoking prevalence is at an all-time low, then you would put in your citation, many smokers still struggle to quit. And then we also need to use an in-text citation when we use our own words to reiterate or to capture their ideas, which we call paraphrasing. In fact, in 2010, almost 50% of smokers who were surveyed had attempted to quit smoking. And then we insert the citation again. So try to fill in learning log number 3. You can pause it right now, fill it out. You can look at the slides to help, and then we will take it up together. So the answers to learning log number 3. A, what is the URL for the APA at Conestoga style guide? So if you click that initial link that I showed us, the URL is https://apa.conestogac.on.ca and then a slash again. Or you can just copy and paste from the PowerPoint. B, below, name the two parts required to document sources in APA at Conestoga. Those two parts are 1, in-text citations, and 2, references page. C, below, list the 3 pieces of information that need to be included in the in-text citation. First, you need the author's last name. 2, you need the year of publication. And 3, the page number or paragraph number. You can skip ahead because we will not be doing learning log number 4. So now let's move on to reviewing the audience of a text and how we can identify that. So before we plan our message or our assignment, we need to consider who will be reading it, or in some cases listening to it. If we can tailor our message to their expectations and abilities, we can make our message more successful. So some things that we can think about or consider when identifying our audience are age, their general level of education, their specific degree or knowledge, or the interest in the topic, and then we can also think about their cultural or linguistic background. A written message should always be intended for someone in particular. If we can only identify the audience as the general public, then we need to look more closely. Now let's review how to identify the purpose of a text. A written text is like a tool. It is created to achieve a specific purpose. Some examples of purpose are to inform, to entertain, to convince or persuade, or to request. Okay, now let's move on to our critical reading of Dear Dad by Taslim Jaffer. If you're working from home, please open the link above, which is found in your PowerPoint, so you can pause here and open it, or you can use the more accessible version, which is also linked in your PowerPoint. It's underlined in blue, and open up this week's reading. So now that you've opened it, don't read it yet. We're going to do something called a pre-reading. I want you to just think about these questions. You can write them in your notebook or in the blank spaces of your learning log, but it's not mandatory. So the first thing I want you to think about before you start reading is, where is home for you? Now, this could be the place where you were born, so your birthplace, or it can be where you spent most of your childhood. Where do you think of when you hear the word home? Next, think about what are some of the similarities and or differences between your home and here in Kitchener-Waterloo, or for some of us in Cambridge. So think about where home is for you. How is it similar to Kitchener-Waterloo and Cambridge area? And how is it different? And you can pause and take a moment to write this down if you would like. Now, next, before you start to read, I want you to skim the reading Dear Dad. Try to predict the article's main idea. What do you think it's about? So that you can answer in the next learning log question. So once you've done that, I want you to sit back, get comfortable, pause this video, and then you read the article at your own pace. So read for pleasure, read it to understand, read it as many times as you need to, and enjoy. Next, read the article more intently and fully. Use the margins, if you have a physical copy, to note any unfamiliar vocabulary or questions, and make comments that you may have as you read. If you only have a digital copy, that's okay. Use your notebook to write down comments or questions. So now that you have read the reading, I want you to answer learning log number 5. So the first question is, who is Jaffer's intended audience or audiences? What aspects of the text, for example, word choice, tone, helped you to identify the audience? Be specific. Number 2, what is Jaffer's purpose for writing this article? Support your interpretation by referring to specific aspects of the text. And again, be specific. So don't just write down big ideas, point out certain parts in the article. So you can pause this now and fill out learning log number 5. Okay, if you finish learning log number 5, we're going to do a small recap of this week. So this week we explored the following. We talked about academic integrity at Conestoga College. We've discussed a little bit about citing and documenting text references using APA at Conestoga style. And then we talked about using audience and purpose to read Dear Dad by Taslim Jaffer. In the computer lab session, or if you are at home, we are going to do our grammar modules that will be done in the lab, or you can do them on your own at home if you're not in class. You can go to your actual physical copy, or the digital copy, of your PowerPoint and click on all the links, or you can find the links in eConestoga as well. Then, once you're done that, you're going to demonstrate your learning in the first of 5 in-class labs. And lab stands for Low Stakes Assessment of Basic Skills. This activity will be presented in the form of an eConestoga quiz, and you will have a full 50 minutes of class or 50 minutes at home if you've spoken to me, to complete the activity. This activity will be completed independently, which means you will be expected to answer the questions on your own without working in groups or consulting with other students. So no asking your friends, no asking your classmates, just do it on your own. However, you are free to consult materials posted on eConestoga in addition to your own learning log notes. So you can use eConestoga, you can use the PowerPoints, and you can use your learning log notes from previous weeks and from this week. So here, the parts of speech, before you start the module, try to fill out learning log number 6. Can you recall all 8 parts of speech? I know that as English language learners, you have learned about the English parts of speech, for example, verbs, right? Nouns, adjectives. Write the ones you can remember on learning log number 6. Now that you've filled that out, please go to eConestoga or follow the links in your own PowerPoint to do the online grammar modules. Start with parts of speech, then move on to from words to sentences, and then thirdly, knowledge check, parts of speech. Now that you have completed the eConestoga grammar modules on the topic of parts of speech, let's review with the Kahoot quiz. If you're learning from home, please do not open the Kahoot quiz because we will be doing it in class at a different time. For those at home, once you're done reading the slides and watching the instructor's video, which is this video here, please go to this week's labs activity. That link is active in your own PowerPoint. You can click on it. If the link doesn't work or if you don't want to use it, please open week 3 content on eConestoga and click on the link there. Or you can go to quizzes in eConestoga. It'll be at the top left of the page and choose current quizzes labs activity number 1. You are allowed to use any of your notes as well as the reading itself and these slides to help you complete your quiz. Once you start, the timer will count down from 50 minutes. Once the 50 minutes is up, eConestoga will stop saving your answers, so make sure to keep an eye on the time. Good luck, and I will see you next week, hopefully.